a sense, I think over the next 5 years, we'll see that core middle group of clients split in half. There'll be some that migrate into being not quite multinationals, but being bigger and being more international. And there'll be some that don't make that grade, and they become smaller, more local businesses. And that's going to polarise the consulting industry. We talk a lot in consulting about the polarisation, about between big and small firms. But I think the important dimension here will be about global know-how and coverage. So we end up with a two-speed consulting industry. There's the part which works with multinational companies or international companies that are evolving into being multinationals. And then there's the part that works with smaller local firms, and the distance between them will be quite big. For the firms that are also mid-sized, what happens to them? Well, some of them, those that can create a more global feel to their business, will start working with multinationals even more. Those that can't do that will end up working with just local firms. They'll still have a viable business, but the growth perhaps won't be there in the way it is for the multinational corporations. That brings us to the third implication from our research, which is, what do we mean by global consulting firm? We've tended to assume that global consulting firms have to have offices in many different countries. But when you talk to clients at the moment, they're clear that that has a lot of value to them, but they're also interested in something more. It has a lot of value where they're trying to develop a global strategy, where they may be implementing an IT system worldwide, maybe when they're changing processes or adapting to regulation. But they're also very interested in working with people who are global citizens, people who've worked in different countries, who understand the differences there, who can bring different cultures and thinking together and talk about, in quite knowledgeable ways, the markets in different countries, without necessarily having an office there. These are people who've travelled, who've been around, who've worked in different organisations. That skill, the ability to talk about the consulting service in a global context, is something that I think will become more and more valuable in the future. And it's not necessarily to the advantage of big consulting firms. Yes, they've got the offices, yes, they've got the network that allows them to do the big global rollout programs and IT implementation strategy, and that's going to remain tremendously important. But actually, it's being able to integrate all of that experience into views about different markets and be able to give that sense to clients that will be very important from clients in the future. And that means that actually there's an opportunity for mid-sized consulting firms here, for firms that are very specialised in a particular sector or a particular service, but also firms who have recruited people that have worked in different countries, who may have a handful of offices in key locations around the world, or perhaps part of an alliance or network of firms that can work together. Clients want the global know-how, but they don't necessarily expect specialists to be based in every country. So I think we'll see a lot of interesting thinking around what does it mean to be global. Indeed, my sense is that will be the key area for competition for consulting firms in the future. If they want to access multinational companies or work with those large-scale domestic companies that are becoming more international, then the consulting firms themselves have to work out what their global model is too. If you'd like to buy a copy of the report or find out more about it, please get in touch.